Today, I have as a guest Marina Granger. She's the founder of Manifesting for Artists. Marina helps creatives align their energy, release scarcity, and attract opportunities through the power of intention. Let's dive into what it really means to manifest from flow and become magnetic as an artist. Marina, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Decoding the Flow.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. When you were reading that or saying that intro, I completely I'm about to cry because it's so perfect. Thank you so much. And it is such a huge thing for me because for the past 6 years, 7 years, I was functioning as the artist advisory. I think on a recent Monday, I switched over to manifesting for artists.
Wow.
Literally, I don't know if it was the same day or the next day you reached out to me, and I thought, "This is a sign." So, it is so perfect. It's beyond my wildest dreams to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so amazing. I love this so much because I'm the same way. Like we're talking a little bit here behind the scenes, and I was telling Marina that I am finally like getting out of the spiritual closet when you really free yourself of like what will people think or people don't like it. They will think you're too woo woo. But there's a point in life that I felt like, well, if I'm not going to talk about this, I'm going to stop being authentic. And manifestation is all about authenticity, right? Okay, Marina, we're going to have so much fun. We have a lot to talking. Marina, let's start. I'd love to start with your story. What inspired manifestation for artists and how did manifestation become such a central part of your journey?
Oh, what a great question. And in a nutshell, I'm going to take you through my life story
Mhm.
because I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that is the core from which I function. And that is where manifesting for artists came from. And so I came from the Soviet Union. I was born in the Soviet Union. I moved to the United States with my mom and her parents, my grandparents, in 1991. I was about 6 years old, and it was one of those experiences where, while I have a lot of privilege in this country, like as a white girl, it was really, really intense. We lived in a one-room studio apartment, the four of us, and I was just excited to even, taste yogurt. Like, I hate to say this, but I was just excited to taste yogurt because I had never tasted anything that exciting before coming from the Soviet Union. Everything was very bland. Anyway, and that was a great metaphor for how my life changed. Growing up, I was very much devoted to studying, to being an A+ student. I went on and I got a art history bachelor's degree and a master's degree, worked in galleries, became a gallery director and did all the things. But here I am, I was about 27 years old, working in a major gallery here in New York City. And at one point, my sales for the year came out to something like 800,000. Yet I was not manifesting what I wanted in my life. I was still in lack, I was still in scarcity, and I was still in fear. And one thing that was going on was I was, again, living in a studio apartment, now this time in Manhattan, living paycheck to paycheck while making these huge sales. And on top of that, I was seeing artists get the runaround over and over and over again from the people who own the galleries and many other people working in the art world. There were great people working in the art world and not so great. And I was lucky to experience all sides of it. But long story short, getting shorter as I'm telling you a little bit more, I went on and I left my gallery job in 2017. And I just knew that something had to change. I started a company called the Artist Advisory in 2018. And I started the Artist Advisory because I saw so many artists getting the runaround, and I knew that a big thing that was going to help them get in front of anyone and everyone was the internet. And it was all about how you would present yourself. Now, how you present yourself is a big part of how you see yourself. It is your identity, right?
100%.
And you manifest from who you think you are, not who
Chills.
you
Yeah.
truly are, right?
Yeah.
You manifest from who you think you are, right? And so you get this beautiful experience as an artist to curate how you present yourself in the world right now. So in 2018, I started this company, and everything I did was integrated always. I integrated mindset work, spirituality, along with the practical tactical. And so now, fast forward, we're in 2025. I'm like, we're in 2015. Uh-oh, 2025. I have rebranded as Manifesting for Artists because essentially that is what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you how to do this not only with the practical skills that I've gained from working in the New York City art world for so many years, from working with hundreds of artists, from helping thousands of artists over the years, but also with the mindset tools. I'm a certified mindset coach. I do EFT. I'm an EFT practitioner. I'm a hypnotist, and I, most importantly, started this whole journey with a sound bath in 2017. It
Amazing.
completely changed my life. From there, I started diving deep into the spiritual. I became a Reiki master. I do classical Chinese feng shui. And for those of you listening who are familiar with human design, you already probably know from me telling you all of these
Love.
things.
Do readings too of human design?
Well, when I work with my artists, I look at certain things in human design
Yeah.
to help them manifest what it is they want.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, I'm a manifesting generator. I do 5 million things, but
I'm a
somehow,
projector. 1-3.
oh my gosh,
I
amazing.
am the researcher mode like forever, and I love it so much.
Well, you're also like our guide. You
Yeah.
know so much.
Mhm.
And once you turn on your light, everybody flocks to you. It's pretty
So
amazing.
we can have a whole other conversation later on to talk just about human design because I really want to talk about it. Sometimes I will tell my clients too, and I will just touch bases a little bit, and they also fascinated by it because a lot of people still don't know about human design, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
What's
love
your
your story. When we talk about manifestation, we can always combine with the healing part of your soul. The minute that you start noticing and embracing your shadow and understanding all of your life patterns. So I see manifestation go together with all of these practices and these tools that you just mentioned that serve as a healing for us, right? And finding who you truly are, finding your authenticity, and really noticing the patterns that you've been repeating the entire life. Or since we're talking about manifestation, we can talk about which probably you have faced like growing up as an immigrant. And I am the same thing. I came from Brazil. I even moved by myself in my 20s. But what I come to realize, and I'd love for you to add on that abundance is not achieved by fighting lack, but it's by overcoming the idea of lack and replacing it with the idea of continuous provision. It can get very spiritual, but I really believe that because a lack is an illusion.
Yes.
It's a construct that make us live on this fear paradigm and it doesn't exist. There's a really good book. You probably read it. It called Money's God in Action. Have you read it, this book?
Ooh, no.
Short book. I'm sure it's free on the internet. It has a PDF on it. Money is God in Action by Raymond Charles Baker. This is one of the best books. Even if you don't like the term God, you can substitute for anything that makes you feel more comfortable. God is just a term, but we can use source, universe, anything that makes you feel comfortable. This is an incredible book that touches on that idea about provision, continuous
Mhm.
provision. So who it is that is bringing those people to you, right? So let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I say this to my clients. I say this on my podcast. Think about if you have a dog or a cat that you love, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe it's even a child, right? A baby, for example. You love, love, love this creature so much. It can have accidents on the couch. It can have accidents on the on the rug. Right? Like it can poop on the rug, but you still love this creature so much. And you give it everything it needs when it needs something, right? The baby cries, you come to it, a trust that you're going to give it whatever it needs. A dog is looking at you a certain way. You know how to read that dog's mind, so to speak, and give it what you need. And I think of this when I think about my dog. I have a Pomeranian, and I look at her and I have to remind myself every time I look at her, the universe provides for her. She doesn't need to do anything.
Mm.
She is enough as she is, even if she pees on the rug. And that is how the universe sees you, right? That is how the universe sees everyone in the world. You are deserving, you belong, you are enough, no matter what you do or don't do, right? And I think that is where overflow comes from when you trust, you believe that everything is coming from the universe. And that is the key to manifestation because when you are thinking about something that you want, you can think about it this way. You could say, I need it more than anything because I have to have it. I need it, right? When you are in that need vibration, it's a lower vibration because you are not trusting that you can survive without it. But when you embody your inner Pomeranian, you can survive no matter what, right?
So
And you
true.
say, well, I would like it. It would be nice. I could live without it, but it would be nice. I'm curious to see. I would like it just for the experience. That's when the universe delivers. When you let go of the need and you embrace the curiosity or the want, that is a totally different vibration. And so that I think is like the key, the very key to manifesting.
Yeah. But I see a lot of artists and they always not all, but most of the artists and they struggle with money, visibility and self-worth, which it is all connected. And I was living proof from that. I suffer from all of that, like honestly. So I know and like I'm living proof that anything is possible. From your perspective, what do you think is usually behind those blocks? And how can we start transforming them?
It could be different for everyone, but there are some very common ones that I want to share with you. For
Yeah.
example, so there's money, visibility, and self-worth. So first and foremost, this idea of being an artist is a good hobby, or being an artist means that it's a difficult career. This is something that many people who grow up thinking, I want to be an artist, that's me, they hear that being an artist is going to be difficult,
Mm.
that it's very competitive, that it's going to be very hard to make money. And so they grow up hearing this, mostly because of this very famous story of Vincent van Gogh. We don't think about all the other artists that were completely rolling in it during their lifetimes, like the court painters, like I mean Leonardo da Vinci definitely was not broke, okay? I'm going to tell you that. And he didn't need to sell all those paintings.
Yeah.
So I I want to highlight that as something that we've been programmed to think. You're not born thinking that you can't do something. You are taught that you can't do something. So all you have to do is unteach yourself and see more possibilities because this is how the mind works. The way the mind works is at any given moment, you have about 2 million bits of information in front of you. And your RAS, your reticular activating system, it's a part of your mind based on your belief system, which is based off of who you think you are, right? So if you're the type of person that says, oh, I'm not that good enough to get the nice paints,
Mm,
you're not even going to see that the nice paints actually are on sale and maybe cost less than the ones that you normally get, and you should probably get them, right? Because your mind will filter out based on who you think you are, based on your beliefs. And out of that 2 million bits of information, you're only going to see 200, 100 bits of information at any given moment. So first and foremost is to understand this on the conscious level, on the subconscious level. Ask yourself, how can I embody a different version of someone who was taught the opposite? That being an artist actually means that you can make a lot of money. Guess what? You can have fun and you can sell. When it comes to visibility, again, that goes back to that same programming of it's difficult. There's so many people out there who want to be artists. I've worked with artists who, if I tell you their names, like when I was in galleries, if I tell you the names of these artists, they're really great. They're amazing. They had a fan base. But if I tell you who they are, you probably wouldn't know who they are. You would have never heard of them. You don't have to be Jeff Koons to receive 6 figures a year and live comfortably off your art, right? So when it comes to self-worth, this is a whole different thing because when you put yourself out there, you connect yourself to your work, right? You put yourself out there, you connect yourself to your work, and then suddenly what happens is someone says, that's not for me. You might have 900 people out there who say, my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. But you'll only remember that one person who said, nah.
our
And
brain
that really,
always like to
yeah,
focus on the negative. It's crazy.
yeah.
But once
So
we
you're going to
aware of
jump.
that too, we can kind of like we are aware of how our brain works. Well, we will always focus on the negative because it's wired for survival. Great. But we can always choose to ignore that. If you are aware enough, you can notice the thought and the pattern and you can make another choice.
Yeah. Yeah. But we fall into that, right?
Yeah.
And so I want every time you have a thought that says, I would do this because chances are that is a limiting belief. And when you start to get rid of the limiting beliefs, I'll tell you at least how to do it on the conscious level. Ask yourself, okay, is this true for everyone?
Mm.
No,
According to who,
right?
right?
Yeah. According to, is this true for everyone? Where did I get this belief? And if it's not true for everyone, and I got this belief from someone else, is there any way that it's actually the opposite for me?
Wow,
And
you
what is,
just gave like the step by step of how to really get rid of those limiting beliefs.
yeah,
Love that on the conscious level.
what's some evidence that it actually could be a different belief, that it could be something else? And so you can keep rewriting this belief for yourself. You say, actually, what do you mean I can't fly? I actually I can fly. Millions of people fly every day. They just have
Yeah.
to be in an airplane.
How it is manifesting for artists philosophy in hands that you can give.
Yeah, I work with artists either one to one or in a group program. I have uh, a signature group program called the Artists Academy, where we do everything from mm, the mindset work to the manifestation work to the practical and tactical to get you set up to reframe how you look at the art world, how you look at your art career. And it's been really incredible. And I also work with artists one to one, but the philosophy behind it. Now, this is something that I want to talk to you about because there are so many frustrations that can be connected to being an artist. And I've seen them. I've seen them when An artist flew in from Europe for an opening, had a beautiful opening reception, and the owner of the gallery was like, "Sorry, I'm going home. This is it. The end. We're not going out to dinner. Nothing."
What?
Or when an artist comes in from out of town to see the owner, and the owner would just not want to talk to them. And eh, or even so there are so many frustrations, right? And while I'm telling you these stories, there's also wonderful stories about the art world, right? There's beautiful stories like there are galleries courting artists, wanting artists to join them. They want to buy them gifts, they give them sign on bonuses. It's amazing. You also can flourish without a gallery. But the artists that work with me, they really focus on finding galleries that are right for them, who be part of a broader conversation. And a lot of the artists that work with me go on to have museum shows, which is pretty exciting. But
Amazing.
I want to give you, thank you. I want to give you a little framework. Whether or not you work with me, you can start to look at things. And you're already listening to this podcast, so you're clearly like looking at things through a different lens, a wider lens. But because there's so many frustrations in the art world, it's so important to start your manifestation journey of whatever it is that you want. Let's say you want to show in multiple galleries in different regions, like a gallery in New York, LA, and London. You want your work to be sold out. You want a wait list for your work. You want to be showing at major fairs. You don't ever want to worry about what the next opportunity is, right? And so when you think of these things that you want, it's so important to start from a place of neutrality. You have got to be neutral. Because when you start to be neutral about it, it goes back to well, I don't need it, but I would like it. And to be neutral, one of the most important things, and you've mentioned this earlier, is healing.
Mm.
And that important thing is starting with forgiveness. You've got to forgive all of the frustrations. You've got to start from a slate of forgiveness. So think about who you can forgive. And it's really, really tough to forgive sometimes. But the best way to start to think about it is, how did this experience make me stronger? How did this experience make me who I am today? And that's where you start that forgiveness journey. So once you forgive that person, and then you can start to think, what do you truly want?
I love this so much. I had to do a lot of inner work on forgiveness. Everything is energy. So imagine how much of that energy that even in your unconscious that you have carrying on with you against something or against somebody. And that's why it's so important, this piece of forgiveness. And even if you're still looking to prove your point somehow, you've gotta let go. Focus on where you want to go. That hatred, that unforgiveness piece, it gotta leave space for you to create better things for you. You have to take that person out of the pedestal, because the more energy that you give to that situation, even for the negative side, like you're taking away from your own life. You're not gonna just forgive something like day or two. You can have the intention, but sometimes your heart will be kind of closed off a little bit. So it is a work in progress that you have to commit to it until you get to the point that you look back. It's like, I wouldn't change anything in my past because everything it builds what I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, and so I want to fast forward just a little to another tip I want to give your listeners who might be creatives, who might be artists. Again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when I started my company for the first time, in 2018, I worked out of the eat-in part of our kitchen. I had a little tiny space where I had a desk and where I was working. And I got to tell you, I researched every single way to make that tiny space cute. And I found feng shui. which is the ancient Chinese metaphysical practice of the energy that surrounds you in your environment. And now I'm certified in classical Chinese feng shui. So when I work with my artists, I work with them not only on their mindset, on anything to do with their spirituality, but also feng shui. And it's so important that you look around your space because remember that manifestation, it comes from who you believe you are. Is the person that you are manifesting to become, do they have a space that looks like yours, right? Do they have a space that looks like yours? Are the files unorganized? I'm blending now law of attraction, right? Classical Chinese feng shui is like astrology for your house. I can't
Yeah.
exactly do it for everyone, but are you sitting with your back to the door? Because if you're sitting with your back to the door, you are not the master of your kingdom, right?
Interesting.
So in your studio, and this is very common, there are a few things in artist studios that instantly, this is a blend of structural feng shui and law of attraction. You want to be able to sit so you have the door in sight, not directly in front of you, but maybe diagonally in front of you. And I know that a lot of the times you need to sit with the window on your facing the window because you've got to have the light. But one easy fix in many studios, it's possible to turn your table so that it's perpendicular to the window. So you get to be in that power position. Because when it comes to law of attraction, when you sit looking out the window like that, first of all, it's money leaving.
Wow.
And you have your back to collaboration. And being an artist is all about collaboration,
Agree.
right? So that's one thing. Another thing is when you have, a lot of the time, if you are an artist who uses paints and brushes, put your brushes, you have to leave your brushes, I guess, in water overnight, right? Put them away in a cabinet so we don't see them out. When you have the brushes out in these glasses in water, is standing water, it is just like not a good vibe. And on top of that, sometimes the glass may not be full. And if the glass isn't full, according to law of attraction, you are draining something, right? It's not the full thing. So make a space in a cabinet somewhere for those brushes. It's super important. And two more quick things. Anything that's sharp, scissors, knives, palette knives, put away in a cabinet when you leave. And always have your garbage can closed so that there's a lid on it. If there's no lid on your trash, it's going to just bring negative energy into the space. So, a few quick things.
Amazing.
Had to share that with you. Well, there you
Thank
go.
you so much for sharing. Let's talk about magnetism. What does that really mean? And what is the first step toward embodying that energy of magnetism?
Well, think about your friends that you want to hang out with, right? Let's leave the art world for a second, or maybe stay in the art world. Maybe your friends are in the art world. But the friends that you want to hang out with the most, right? The person that you want to spend more time with, they are that way because they're magnetic. And they're magnetic because they don't need to spend time with you. They're happy on their own. They're happy doing things on their own and marching to the beat of their own drum because they are confident, they are happy, they make you feel happy around them. And that is what being magnetic is. It's trusting the universe so much that you release the need, that you start with, I would like that. Right. And when you're magnetic like that, when you are totally confident in what you are doing, and by the way, it comes from practice, it's from doing the thing. So every day that you get up, reinforce your confidence, do the thing that you do the best, right? One of my favorite things to suggest to artists to be magnetic is a Magical morning practice. This is from Darling. Gala Darling is an incredible mindset coach and EFT practitioner. She's a genius, just so good. And she has a magical morning practice where you record into a voice memo 3 parts. What you're grateful for in the present tense, what your intentions are for the day as if they're already done,
Mhm.
and what your future desires are as if they're happening. So I'm grateful for my beautiful coffee. I'm grateful for my studio and these paints and the ability to know how to paint, right?
This
Or
is a
you can
big
keep going
thing.
on and on. Yeah,
Most
it's
artists
huge.
take it for granted, but I thank my talent for the ability that I have to make people happy. This is huge. We
It's
should be
huge.
thanking our
You
talents
guys,
every day.
I don't have that talent, so I see it and I'm like, "You guys, you have no idea how cool this is." Right? It is so cool. You literally take people to different worlds.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
So powerful. Anyway, so on and so forth. You could say, "Oh, I got an inquiry and sold a painting today. I," and then in the future, you could say, "I'm represented by galleries in New York and London." And it starts to it starts to rewire your mind day by day, slowly rewire your subconscious mind to be in gratitude, to feel comfortable with your goals. And finally, when you talk about the future, to feel comfortable being in that identity. Because there's a great book called The Big Leap. It's by Gay Hendricks. Have you read it?
A few times.
Oh, you
It's
have to. You have
amazing.
to read it
You
a few
have to
times.
read this book. Yeah. I try to read it every other year because this is the type of book that you always pick up new things and you always facing a new upper limit. We all
Yeah.
do. So I'm gonna put
Yeah.
that on the show notes. Great recommendation, Marina.
So
Ooh,
good.
it's so good.
Because when you are stepping into that new identity of who you want to be, right? That confidence that you get from doing the thing, from doing a morning practice like the one I described. Let's say, Larry Gagosian calls you and wants to do a studio visit, right? Or one of his directors. You are excited, but suddenly you might get a flat tire, or suddenly you might lose the key to your studio. Something might happen. And that is because the ego wants to keep you safe. Now, in The Big Leap, what happens is Gay Hendricks describes that our ego, it's there to protect us. And so it operates in comfort zone. The comfort zone is above the baseline, so above the bare minimum. That's the neighborhood where you have to live in, the type of food you eat, making sure your bills are paid, and the upper limit, which is your biggest dreams that you have never achieved yet. So below the baseline, it's uncomfortable. So you're never going to drop below the baseline.
Mm,
Above the upper limit, it's unknown. So it's also uncomfortable. No one's going to go above the upper limit because it's uncomfortable. That's why we might say to ourselves, well, I know I can work on my website, but I know what to do. I'll do it later. I don't want to do it now. Also, yeah, I've been meaning to paint this new series, but I'll do it later.
sound
I know
familiar?
what, yeah, right? That is your upper limit. That is your ego saying, we're getting too close to the upper limit. This is not comfortable for me.
So good.
Right. And so that's what's so important about that morning practice when you uh, l- do the third part where you say what your goals are. Like, I have a beautiful townhouse in the East Village. I show in galleries all over the world. That's when you start to tell your ego every day a little bit, it's safe. It's safe for me to do that. But you should also read the book. And
Read
by
the
the way,
book. Yeah.
yeah. Wait, by the way, if you're thinking, Marina, are you kidding me? There's artists with townhouses in Manhattan? Yes, there
Yeah.
are. There are. And they're
So good.
like 40 years old, and you could be one of them too.
Let's just repeat that three process for the morning practice.
What you're grateful for in the present tense, what you're going to do that day as if you've already done it, and then your goals, your long-term goals as if they're already happening now.
I love
Yeah.
that. Now, I think you talk a little bit about identity, and I'd love to go a little deeper because that is the number one important thing. Identity is what you believe to be true about yourself because you can only manifest to the level of your identity.
So, for example, oh, I don't go to Chanel. I'm not the kind of person that shops there. Or, no, no, no. I'm not the kind of person that like hires a personal trainer. No, 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 no. I'm not the kind of person that like lives in that neighborhood. That's like too fancy for me, right? That is an example of you being tied to your identity. I'm like, let's raise your standards. Let's dream
Exactly.
big.
Upgrade the
Let's
identity.
upgrade the identity. I mean, look, the internet upgraded from AOL to what it is now, and you're not able to upgrade? Come on.
I love that. So, how do you usually work with artists and when it comes to upgrading their identity?
This is so huge. You want to first work on that forgiveness part, like
Mm,
really let go. And it's an ongoing process. So just being aware of it is important. Then you know what you want, like the practical, tactical things that you want, right? So what I do is when I work with artists one to one, I usually bring them into a state of hypnosis and I ask them to tell me what they see when they already have those things. Where are they living? What are they wearing? What are they doing every day? And they walk me through their day. And for example, when you do that, your mind starts to touch on the idea of what it's like to have that. And it could be something super tiny. Like one of my artists was like, well, I'm in this house, everything is the way it is, but I have my nails done. They're purple. And I'm like, always have purple nails because it will remind you, it'll anchor in that this is
mm,
possible, right? So that's when I work with artists one to one. And sometimes before I even go into hypnosis, I'll give them this assignment. And there's two things you could do this. There's also another one on my website that's completely free. So, first thing that you can do is think about the type of person, the type of artist that you want to be, right? Your new level, your new version, right? Not to say that this version isn't perfect. You are perfect as you are, but
yeah.
you are curious about more, right? So you think about the new level and going for a walk,
Mm,
wherever you are, going for a walk, you put on your sunglasses, you go on a walk, and you imagine that you are that identity and just start looking at the streets differently. Where would you go? Suddenly, you walk into the fancy candle store because you are the type of person that can buy the fancy candle. And that's
love
how it
it.
all started with me, by the way, because in human design, my strongest sense is smell. When you look up your strongest sense in human design, which is like astrology on steroids, you can manifest with your strongest sense. So for me, it's
Ooh,
smell.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I went and I got I didn't even know this back then, but I kept buying diptyque candles because I loved how luxurious they smelled, how luxurious they were. And, after I did my feng shui and I activated it with my diptyque candles, suddenly my business went full time. I was featured in Forbes in this huge interview. Like it was amazing, right? So look up what your strongest sense is and use it, do it as if you already achieved it, right? But anyway, go on this walk. You're going to see the world differently. And then the second thing is on my website, I have a visualization. You can go ahead and download it. And it's kind of like a faster version of the hypnosis that I take my artists through. So you can go and access the version of yourself that already has it and ask her or him for advice. And the way that I do this is on the quantum level. So it's so important to understand this might feel a little esoteric, but I love science. And I know I'm not a scientific genius, but I'm going to be pretty modest about this. But there are two laws of quantum physics that I'm obsessed with. Well, one of them is a theory. The other one, I think, is a law. So, the many worlds theory, the idea that the universe is so infinite, there are worlds out there that are just like ours, but maybe we're wearing something different, or I'm interviewing you and it's not the other way
They
around.
all possibilities already exist. Kind of like this one,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
correct. And then the other theory that I'm really obsessed with is the law of quantum entanglement. And that is the idea that when one particle has ever had any access to a different particle, no matter how far away they are in the universe, they react to each other. They have a connection, this quantum connection. And so if we go back to this idea of the Big Bang, right, we were all interconnected
Yeah.
in one tiny dot, very heavy. And then we exploded into this ongoing infinite universe that's for the time being expanding, right? And we have this quantum entanglement. We can connect to any one of those infinite worlds out there, especially the world where you already are living the version that you desire. And so you connect to that version.
You have to make your imagination or your visualization so real. That's how you get to the same frequency.
Yeah.
And then you got the entanglement.
Yeah. One big misconception about manifestation is thinking that just because you want it, somehow you can just have it without doing anything. That thought about manifestation is like looking at an abstract work of art and thinking, my kid can do that, right?
I
That's
love
literally
that.
the same thing. So you have to actually do the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I the best way to describe it is to do it all as consciously as possible. So I start with my space. I make sure my space around me is set up optimally for feng shui
Mm.
because feng shui doesn't give you things, but it makes things go faster for you. Anything that's meant for you will come to you faster. And so sometimes when people feel stuck, it's because their feng shui is literally keeping them stuck. I was actually working with a gallerist friend of mine, and she was like, "Oh my God, Marina, I really need to make some sales. I don't know what to do." And I looked at her feng shui, told her to add metal to her bedroom. Now, this doesn't go to everyone, not to
Wow.
everyone, just for her, because the type of feng shui I do is like the space is like as unique as a fingerprint, right? So I told her add metal to your bedroom. She added metal to her bedroom in the funniest way possible. She literally put aluminum foil under her mattress. Okay. That's the only way she could do it. So she did
Wow.
that. And she then made instantly the biggest sale that the gallery has ever made.
Unbelievable.
Right. Okay. Because she was stuck and this helped her become unstuck. Right. So it's very precise, but you can do the little things that I told you
Yeah.
so far. So, but what I'm saying is my space, I look around at where I am, also how I carry myself, how I dress myself every day as if I'm the identity that I want to embody. And while I consciously am aware of some things, right? Like where I have my blocks. No one's perfect. I have my blocks and my limiting beliefs, even though I manifested a beautiful, successful business, a great podcast, a gorgeous show that I curated just now with Catherine Bradford in it. Oh my God, right? And I live in an East Village penthouse somehow, right? This kid who lived in a studio apartment with her grandma, grandpa, and mom, right?
Wow.
Even though these things are happening, I always have to be aware of what is going on. And something that's really important is knowing that even though you have a block come up, you don't need to solve it right away for something good to come to you. You could literally be and remember, this goes back to the Pomeranian. You could literally be in your pajamas, feeling not great in bed, laying around, and you can get an inquiry on your phone that day where you sold $5,000, $20,000 worth of art. That is possible. But the
It
way that I
is.
integrated is, my space, how I carry myself, and I make sure to make note of anything that I feel like if I feel stuck, where is this coming from? I ask myself those
Mm,
questions. And so how you do one thing is how you do everything. So the way that I show up on in my life, right? The way my artists show up in their lives online, right? If they believe that they're the artist who is already successful, how are they going to show up and curate their work? Are they going to
yeah.
show every little thing on their website, or are they going to be more mindful and say, you know what? I don't have to show everything. If they see one painting, they're going to love all of them. So maybe they show a more curated selection,
Love
right?
that.
So I hope
This
that
is
answers the question.
incredible. Because we talk about manifestations, and a lot of people have this idea about manifestation being like true, but we are manifesting. Even if you don't believe in manifesting, we'll still manifest. And that's all we do. We are here to manifest. But the difference is when you consciously manifest the things that it is aligned with the person that you want to become, how people can find you and work with you.
Yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
so much. So, I do have a podcast at the moment. It's the Artist Advisory Hotline. If you search for it, you don't find it. It's Manifesting for Artists. We're literally in the transition right now. If you go to manifestingforartists.com, which by the way, the acronym is MFA, and M stands not only for manifestation, but motivation, money, so many things. So anyway,
Oh,
so you
perfect.
go to manifestingforartists.com and you can find out any which way to work with me. I also have some free resources on my website that you can get, like the visualization I spoke about. There's an EFT tapping to attract opportunities. And I also have a PDF guidebook for artists. I will also have so many cool things coming up soon. Also, currently, I don't know when this will come out, but I currently have an exhibition that I've curated called Lunation. It's about the lunar month and our connection to the moon. It is on view in Brooklyn, New York at Warren's Contemporary and features incredible artists. It's on view through November 3rd. We might extend it, and we have some events coming up at the gallery as well. And what else? Yeah, Instagram. Find me on the internet. Send me a DM. If you just type in Manifesting for Artists or Marina Granger, you should be able to find me.
Marina is so wonderful. And it's true because I DM her first to be on this podcast and she got it right away. I'll definitely be connecting with you like outside of here. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and be so open and reminding us that manifestation is really about the energetic alignment and trust in our creative power. I think that's why I love this podcast so much because I touch about creative consciousness, which is exactly what is. It's our power to create worlds that we all have that
Yeah.
power to. Yeah. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much. This was absolutely incredible. Truly, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And make sure to check it out Marina and all the amazing things that she's been doing for artists. Bye.